quick. Application. Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a magnificent guest with us today, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our Brother Amin Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Islam. Peace to the believers. Salute to the
Yes,
God.
And the honor is mine, sir. This is long overdue. The first question we have for you, sir, is though we know you grew up in the nation, we want to know exactly, that's still our first question. When did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Like you said, I was born in it, so my parents was reading English lesson C1 to me in the crib. You know, we got the general orders and actual facts down by the time we was talking.
Yes, sir.
I can't honestly say that I did step away and go off into insanity for a little bit when I was in my teens. And Minister Tony actually brought me back into the nation. I wasn't really inspired to do anything. I was out there wilding. And I came to the mosque and I heard Minister Tony speaking, and it felt like he was like looking into the audience, speaking to me. And I was like, he was saying things that I related to. I just come back from Atlanta anyway, so it was like I was already in that mindset. And you know, the things he said brought me to tears. I stood up that day.
Okay, let's stay right there. That's something that not just there's a television show called Breaking Amish, where people who grew up in the Amish religion go into the world, as they say, get an opportunity, and then if they come back, they accept, and if they don't, something that seems like something that happens not just in the nation, but in our religion. But what is it about? What advice would you give to those in religion, period, but primarily in the nation that have to make that same step? You're born in it, your parents teach you it, but about accepting it on your own.
I think we're all just different. I think some people are more hard-headed than others. I think that, you know, some people are able to learn quickly and rapidly. Some people have to learn by fire. They got to learn by trial and error. So like, I guess it's like the natural scientist in me. I was like, I don't really understand fully what I'm being taught over here, but I know it's being pushed on me. And everybody over there is talking about the same thing. I got to see if there's something else out there that's greater. And I wasn't able to find anything. I talked to Rastafarianism. I talked to people that were doing Buddhist practices. I tried out Sunni Islam. I was with the Sunni brothers when I was in Atlanta. I tried out a lot of different things. I read a lot of books, and nothing compared to Islam in the way that I understand it. Like, I always knew that Islam wasn't a religion. It was a way of life. But a lot of the times, the way I was growing up, a lot of the people that were around me were practicing it as a religion. And it wasn't until I started practicing it myself that I came to understand how it's not a religion. It's more of a way of life. It's like all of the different things that make you into a zealot or make you into somebody that goes crazy with religion are because you're practicing it in a way that doesn't necessarily work for you or for your society. And that's that religiousness that people get caught up in. But when you practice Islam as just, you know, a way of life, and you learn to give yourself grace when you make mistakes, you learn to give other people grace, and you're not trying to be judgmental, that makes it more palatable, more edible for you, and you can consume Islam in a better way. I say that even the Nation of Islam, it has a lot of rigidity and structure because that's what's needed, but it's like, that's not necessarily religion. That's more the fact that we have to have a military in order to survive in this world. I feel like if we didn't have to have a military to survive in this world, we wouldn't have to have a military. We wouldn't have to have that level of rigidity. But that balance is needed because we're living amongst our enemy. You know, Nation of Islam is the nation part of it is the part that gives us the ability to have control. And like when something happens, we can react not with emotion, but like with efficiency. And then the Islam part is what gives us the spiritual center that not just helps us in this world that currently exists there, but it'll be for all time. Is before the world got messed up, after the world gets resolved, Islam will stand, because Islam isn't a religion. It's just peace. It's like everybody being able to have our respective philosophies and get along. I feel like my purpose in this is to be able to like explain Islam to people who don't like the nation or don't like Islam, because I've been very successful at like helping bridge those gaps with people all over the internet. I've been able to talk to people who have their qualms with the nation or have their qualms with Islam, and help them come to like, well, y'all not what I thought y'all was, but you know, I'm still on this. I'm like, all right, let's have our philosophical debates while we sit in our rocking chairs. Right now, we got to build.
Go ahead,
That's,
brother. I mean, praise be to Allah. And Sister Naima says, Assalamu alaikum, family. Sister Miriam says, Assalamu alaikum, family. Alaikum salam, y'all. Thank y'all for always showing love and watching. And thank you, everyone who's watching all around the world. Can't wait to upload this to YouTube. Okay, brother. I mean, you've always been very at peace. It's very, you've always had that kind of a Zen type energy on you. Let's talk about your parents, and first of all, you know who your parents are and how they put that, you know, in you, how they instilled that in you.
so my father was the Western Regional Secretary of the Mosque in Los Angeles, and I can only imagine all the things that he went through trying to, help build up the mosque, or this leg of the Nation of Islam. Um, what I found out later, I didn't know then, but he was very spiritual in that not only did he pray, did he fast, but he also liked to meditate. And I had signs of him meditating when I was younger, but I never knew that he meditated. Somebody told me later. But I had got into meditating at that point. Like, and so I'm not deep into meditating. I do plan to get better at it. I want to get into it more. But, knowing that about my father helped me understand that like studying the whole world, not just what you've been given, gives you a broader perspective. And I think with perspective, you're able to like navigate better. Like, I do a rites of passage program on my brother's land, and I take the children down there, and it's like, I just want them to be able to get away from the city. That's like the bottom line, is just get into nature and like be able to like not necessarily do the steps of meditation, but be able to be in a meditative state. But B, I like to take them onto this mountain that we got, and explain to them that from the top of a mountain, you can have a better vantage point of the world around you. I was like, treat the world like a mountain, and as you climb up this mountain, try not to get as many obstacles in your way as possible. But that's gonna happen. You might get a girlfriend, you might get a child, you might get a drug habit. All of that might happen. Try to decrease the amount of things that you have as much as possible. But as you're on that climb, look at the world around you, and try to understand who you are and what you like and really what you hate about the world, because what you hate motivates you in order to make the world a better place. But when you find those things and you have that vantage point, you have the perspective that makes you qualified to actually fix that thing. It's like you match your perspective with what the world needs, and that's called purpose. And you have purpose for your life. And that might not be the purpose for your entire life. You might find another purpose later down the line. But now you have a direction to walk in, and you can walk in that direction full. And then my mom, she's Queen Amina. She gave us the other side, which is like that business acumen. She taught us that no matter what, the world's always gonna need food, clothing, and shelter. And she had the clothing down pat. And my brother, he was always into like making large amounts of money. It was natural that he was gonna go into real estate, and he was going to real estate school back in the day too. Um, so I was like, I know food. I've been cooking, helping the sisters cook for the mosque since I was probably 12, 13, helping my mom cut up vegetables before that.
Yes,
So I was
sir.
like, I go into food. Originally, I thought I was going to be a doctor, though. Mom's told me I was going to be a doctor my whole life. She put me through medical programs and all kind of stuff. Then I got to college in Clark, Atlanta, and I was like, I am wholly unprepared for this. I don't like needles. I don't like blood. Maybe I should, figure something else out. I ended up going to trade tech school in LA downtown, and I fell in love with food. And I think my part of my journey is like understanding food, because I have a passion for it. Like I started growing food during the pandemic, and I love that. I started just having this conversation with different food vendors in Leimert Park, and it just made me realize like we don't understand food as much as we should, and understanding the gut biomes, understanding um, our proximity to food increases how our body responds to the food. Like food that's grown near to where you are, it lives in the same environment as you. That's the healthiest food for your body. And it's like, they call it farm to table. That's kind of something new. But how to eat to live discusses it. Like we gotta grow food that we're growing ourselves, because as long as we're letting somebody else grow our food, they're going to be growing it for the bottom line. They're going to be growing it for the purpose of making money, which means we're not getting nutrient rich food. We're getting food that was plucked early. It didn't take all the nutrients from the ground that it needed in order to be a whole food. It took parts of it and then they plucked it because it looked nice. And then, not only that, but it's being refrigerated so that it lasts longer. So it's older and younger than it's supposed to be. We're not getting it at its peak, level of performance so that it can do what it's supposed to do for our bodies. I think that, having those types of parents put me in a very specific place to like figure out who I wanted to be. And
yes, sir.
That's what led me to where I am.
All praise to Allah. Shout out to your father. Shout out to your mother as well. And once again, thank you. Some people showing you love. People showing you love all around. Brother Shaka Shakur, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, Brother Nelson Ramos. Thank you for holding it down. And
Love
thank you
y'all.
everyone who watches, who shows love all around. Speaking, first of all, I didn't know that you were in Atlanta. That's very random that you were
I lived in Atlanta for a year.
Yeah, I know that. Okay, praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. So when I went to Los Angeles, my sisters and my brother always talk about how the culture of the MTS changed me when I went from Chicago to LA and I saw how y'all live together. And I saw that brotherhood and I saw that I was like, okay, so I went back to Chicago and was on it and put some things in motion with a lot of the brothers who are still around today based off of what I saw you all living. I never saw nothing like that. I never saw a brotherhood, and I never saw somebody with pets like you had. You know what I'm saying? You had all the pets in your house and stuff like that. I was like, okay. So where did you develop your love of animals and things like that?
It was our teacher. My mom, she started MUI in LA when I was very young because we was bad running around the mosque doing whatever we wanted to, getting into all kind of trouble. So she met with brother Kyle and sister Oli Oli. Those were the directors of mosque, MUI in the mosque in LA. And we grew up in this classroom that just had animals. We had a parrot that was flying around the classroom when we was in class. He had lizards. He had all kind of bugs and stuff. So I was always fascinated by animals, but he took that fascination and like explained different animals to us all the time. And like, it was like National Geographic in your classroom.
Mm.
I think that kind of sparked it. I mean, and then he gave us a realistic understanding of it too, because like there was this one time he slaughtered a chicken in front of us and dissected it and showed us every single part of the body. It was like, it was a harsh reality, but it taught me a lot about, the circle of life before, Mufasa and Lion King.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And you being a chef, speaking of food, you've done a lot of cooking. What's been your favorite assignment with your cooking, with being a chef? Like your favorite,
Monetarily, probably working for MJ, cooking at his house. I did that for about 2 months. My brother and them, they needed a temporary chef. They called me up. They didn't even tell me that they was calling me up for that. I was working at Best Buy at the time. They told me they wanted me to cook for him and his wife, and then basically they told me like how much would it cost and all of that. I broke it down, and he was like, come through. We're gonna have a date night, me and bro and his wife. So I did that, and they called me up the next day and was like, we got a job for you. You think you could? Would you be willing to quit your job and all that? I was like, how much does it pay? He was like, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. And I was, working with the Brotherhood every day. I was serving breakfast to the FOI. They was excited about it. I was giving them lunch and dinner whenever, but we had a good time doing that. It was like a straight 2 months. And then I moved out to the house in Vegas, and we did that for like another couple months for, the situation happened before he passed. But I was cooking for the brothers out there. We had fun. That was a great time.
Oh, praise to Allah. And what was Michael Jackson like?
He was cool. He was interesting. I thought the most interesting part was when I heard his regular voice. Like I realized like that voice he spoke with was to protect his voice, but he had a regular voice. When his brothers called or his dad called, he talked with a regular voice.
Beautiful, yes, sir. Okay, great. Now you putting a lot of pressure on me, as when all the sisters and people who see me like, oh, Josh doesn't like to really cook, because it's just not something I really came up on. Learn how to cook. I knew how to cook eggs, turkey bacon, like the bare necessities. But what advice would you give to the brothers on the value of learning how to cook? You know what I'm saying? So when the wives
Practice, practice bean soup. That's all you need.
okay.
You got bean soup down. Can't nobody argue with you about nothing because that's what we always talk to eat anyway.
Mm.
All that
So
extravagant stuff, that's like you do that sparingly. Like you can practice with that and play with it. But like every recipe exists online. Like you want to learn how to cook anything, they got TikTok videos, they got YouTube videos, all of that's there. It's just about getting in the kitchen, learning how to use your knife, learning how to, time and temperature and, taste things and adjust. All of that comes with practice. And you can practice that with bean soup too.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Also, I wanted to know your favorite memory of seeing the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Favorite memory? Probably when he came to Mosque 27 when we was on Vermont. Okay. I remember we was on high alert, and then they made us sit down and go listen to the lecture. Usually we'd be upstairs kicking it and hanging out, laughing and joking and stuff. But Mr. Farrakhan came through. Everybody was all ears. We was all, standing ovation and fired up. So yeah.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. I wanted to also ask you. I've had the opportunity of you and your wife coming on the People's Podcast before, dealing with a game show situation, and I got to see you all interact and just have fun and seem to be nothing but love with one another. How has being a husband impacted your life?
Greatly. Yeah, greatly. My wife has helped me understand a lot about myself, helped me understand a lot about life in general. Just being able to communicate your ideas, your dislikes and your likes and all of that to another person and bounce those ideas off of somebody who's like-minded is priceless.
All praises to Allah. And what advice would you give to future husbands?
Make sure you know the direction you want to go in with your life before you take on that responsibility. I would say one of the most important things in your life is finding out who you are and finding out what your purpose is. And then you find a wife that can, go in that direction with you. Because trying to convince somebody to go in a direction that you've decided is your direction is difficult, very difficult. And then even worse is not knowing where you want to go, figuring out where you want to go mid relationship, and then trying to convince somebody else is twice as hard.
Yes, sir. You teach it. And your sister Jalila says shout out to Jess and people are showing you love all around the world. Thank you, Sister Jalila. I also wanted to ask you, fear. Have you ever been faced with fear? And if so, how have you overcome that fear?
I fear no one but Allah, but I fear Allah daily. I think that fear of Allah is one of the healthiest fears. Because okay, so there's this saying, fear is the mind killer. So it's like fear stops you from doing things. In most situations in life, fear is a problem because you have something that you need to accomplish. But when it comes to Allah, fear keeps you on the right track. Fear keeps you on the straight and narrow path. It allows you not to sway. You know what you're supposed to do. And if you have a healthy fear of doing the wrong thing, it keeps you right most of the time. I had to learn that the hard way over time.
Okay, what's crazy is when you say that, I just don't see you as someone who could ever, like, you seem like your mom's good son. Like, what I'm saying? I never see you get, like, I can't see you get in trouble.
Well, I mean, I was very wickedly wise.
Okay.
I understood to keep my dirt to myself. They don't need to see that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm like, even with all of the MTS and everybody will be having all our, young, youthful stuff going on, you was always cool. I never saw you get riled up. I never saw you was always at peace. So yeah, praise be to Allah.
There's a lot of people that see me get riled up. There's a lot of people that see me.
Yes, sir.
I always do my best.
Praise be to Allah. I wanted to ask you about the importance of owning land and how that has bonded, brought you and your family close to that you all can have a place where you all can call your own.
I don't think it has yet. I think it will. And I think, it's a matter of time. We have a lot of work to do down there because when he bought it, it's like it's what you call virgin land, meaning it's cactuses everywhere. It's very rough terrain. Like we go down there and we camp out and we have a good time. There's a little spot that they carved out for us, but for the most part, it's work that needs to be done there. But it's helped me understand the value of generational wealth because all of the possibilities that you can accomplish once you get down there. And you know, my brother, he gave his son 40 acres of that land, and me and my nephew now have conversations about what he wants to do with it. So it's like it's a beautiful thing. I'm definitely appreciative. He bought it during in 2019, and like um at that time and before, I had this mindset that like when I become a billionaire, I'm gonna buy me an island and move away. It was, one of those fantastic dreams that you have. Like, but when he bought the land, it became real. So it's like all these things that I had planned on and wanted to do all my life, in order to like separate from Western philosophy and our enemies and whatnot. I'm able to now conceive of doing them in reality, not just in my dreams. Like, and so I'm putting those plans together and I'm working it out. I have this vision of a place where um, when a new FOI comes into the nation or a new MDT comes into the nation, we take them down to the land and we help them go through prayer 5 times a day and help them go through, the recipes for bean soup, help them go through training every day, exercising and all of that. Just getting an idea of what, that feeling you get when you walk away from Savior's Day, that
Yes,
feeling
sir.
of
Yes, sir.
unbelievers for a whole whole week. I want them to have that immediately before they go back into the world and are have to go up against Satan.
Mm, mm. All praise you to Allah. Yes, sir. And people are showing you love all around the world. Thank you, Sister Sharifa. She said, awesome guest. She loves Amin Muhammad. And your sister
Love you,
Jalila
sister.
said that
Love
you
you,
were
Leo.
definitely the troublemaker.
Yes, sir.
Um, okay, I wanted to ask you about your company, Nation Babies. Can you let us know what it is and how can we support?
Nationbabies.com with a Z. Nation Babies was a brand I created because I had this vision of, at some point we want to start um, mentally separated from the world. And it was like, I don't I don't care about name brands that other people have. I want everybody in the nation to create their own name brand. I use my Nation Babies website as my personal closet. Like, and I feel like everybody should have this vision of what the future looks like. And I'm working with my mom, Queen Amina. She got a clothing store. We want to come up with leisure wear that believers can wear versus them having to go to the alternative, which is this other man's concept of how we supposed to dress.
Mm. Praise be to Allah. And once again, shout out to your mother for
Man,
being a staple in the nation, a staple in the community, and always
salute.
being kind and an example to us about the entrepreneurial spirit. She reminds me a lot of my father, and
Absolutely.
they gonna do for self now. It's gonna be some doing for self. It's
Yes, sir.
gonna be some doing for self, and that's what we need, examples of believers who are representing doing that. I wanted to ask you your favorite album of all time, sir.
Favorite album of all time? That's a very tricky question because it depends on the time. Um, I think probably right now it will be Sire. Like I could put that album on at any time.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Um, Black Album, that got a special place in my heart.
Yes, sir.
Um, I'm gonna go with those two. Yeah.
Okay,
Sire.
now when you say tired, you're referring to
Will Smith's son.
that's what I thought because I was about to say I was about to quote I'm just an icon living, but I ain't want to quote it, and you be like that's
No,
the
no,
wrong
no.
side.
I can't
Okay,
live
that's
it.
fun. Yeah, for sure. And then once I saw Creed 2 or Creed 2, whichever one, yeah, Creed 2, when he came out to that, I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, that was hard. That was hard. That's how you represent. Yeah, that was hard.
I mean, and then
Um,
put on any Coldplay album, and I'm a sucker for that.
okay, you can't go wrong with Coldplay. You can't go wrong with Coldplay. Um, Praise be to Allah. And I wanted to ask you, and thank you everybody who's watching all around the world. Our last question that we have for you, sir, is, second to last. Will you ever go into the ministry?
I don't see myself as enjoying being in front of large groups of people. I think that people who enjoy that, that's what that's for. I like having one-on-one conversations. I like talking to people. I can do small groups, that's fine. But like I'm not very preachy. I like to talk, but as far as talking to a bunch of people without having them talk back to me, it's not really. I don't know if that's my thing. I
Okay.
do I want to take the ministry though, because I do want to understand the proper process for, communicating to our people and what it is that, we understand. So I do want to learn it.
Praise be to Allah. Well, thank brother. Audio on the source says all praise to Allah. Shout out from number 6, Baltimore. Good inspiration, information. Thank you, brother Audio on the source. Thank you, brother Amin. I wanted to ask you, sir, on a very peaceful way. You have been you are a great example of someone who understands what Audrey 2 is, which is it's probably 3% of people in the Nation of Islam who understands that type of language, and Little Shop of Horrors and Coldplay, but understand drilling, do for self, cooking, or someone who's very diverse. And we need more people like ourselves um, in the nation. What advice would you give to people who come in and say, "Hey, bro, I still want to listen to this type of music, do this, but be in a nation"? What advice would you give to people like that?
To me, the Nation of Islam is supposed to be people from different backgrounds. Like, we're not supposed to be a monolith, or everybody's supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be from many multiple backgrounds, but able to line up and get in line, and left face, right face together. That's the power of the Nation of Islam. If everybody got to be the same person, to me that's boring. What are we doing?
Powerful. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Well, brother, I mean, we are family. Shout out to you and yours, and inshallah, we will. Hopefully, you come to Atlanta, or if I come to LA, I'll definitely hit y'all up. But man, let's stay locked in, and we're rooting for you, your business, anything that we can do to help support you, your clothing line, Queen Amina's. We were always one call away. The People's Podcast is right here for you all. May Allah continue to bless you, and let's stay locked in, bro.
All right, let me give a special shout out to MTS, because that's who made me. Let me give a special shout out to my brother, my sister, my wife, my mom, my dad. Rest in peace. Peace and love to everybody in the Nation of Islam. Love y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for representing, and thank the MTS for taking me to City Walk. Um,
Anytime, come back out here. We'll go again.
when I was in LA, that I'm telling you, that trip is going to be a part of my one of like a real big. That was a big part of my spiritual journey, was going to LA and seeing y'all, how y'all bonded with each other. That changed me. That changed me
Shout out to Marquise. He had this idea. We went and moved into his mom's house on 7th Street, and we basically created the first. Well, not the first. We created the MTS FOI house, where all the brothers, it was probably like 50 of us. They would rotate in little by little as they could, and we maintained that for quite a while. It was crazy. It was a nut house for sure, but that allowed our brotherhood to be as strong as it was at that time, and helped some of us create the bonds that we have to this day.
Praise be to Allah. Shout out to Brother Marquise. And Jalila says, great interview, Ak. And she says she loves you, broski. That's beautiful. See how you are with this. This is how I am with mine. It's how we going to make it. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Like salam.
Thank you all for watching. Can't wait to upload this to YouTube.